Michelle. Thank you for joining me for this interview today. So we're going to be talking about one of the strategic frameworks. So the first question I have for you is, the essence of the fourth thematic priority for the United Nations work in DPR Korea is that the UN will support national policy and program development with evidence-based and internationally informed analysis and experience. However, there is evidence that North Korea has fabricated data and exaggerated figures in the past. So is it possible, in your opinion, for the UN to convince North Korea to provide an accurate analysis? And what methods should be used to persuade the DPR Korea government to be more truthful?
So honestly, there's really no telling what the DPR Korea will do next due to not only its secretive nature as a nation state as we know, yet also the government's unpredictability. To completely say that there's a complete 100% possibility for the United Nations to convince DPRK to provide accurate analysis with 100% level of genuinity is honestly impossible in my opinion. North Korea does not act as a lone actor as well in today's day and age, especially as it's backed up by nations such as People's Republic of China and Russia. These countries would definitely not be as willing to give out explicit information nor let North Korea be so frugal, especially with the current rising tensions between China and the United States, for example. Though the UN can take the route of encouragement onto pushing for more accurate data representation from the DPRK, while in the past strategic framework, it's been noted that several intergovernmental discussions and internationally approved technical standards have been communicated to governmental bodies of the DPRK, there should still definitely be more push in this area for the next upcoming strategic framework as well. Perhaps more integration with non-governmental agencies, as well as policy dialogues to provide more help with capacity building with the UN bodies as well could aid in building onto the foundation of the transparency dialogue that the 2017-2021 strategic foundation framework has started. In addition to that, I guess further mainstreaming these technicalities in the forms of adding more emphasis on educating more of the DPRK's governmental bodies on the most updated international standards, as well as encouraging the nation to maintain its reporting with set standards would probably work fairly well as well.
Thank you. I agree. I think you're right. It's hard to convince them. There isn't really anything we can do or say to convince them to give us accurate data. So the second and last question I have for you is, must data from the DPR Korean government be verified by non-governmental actors, for example, aid workers, independent researchers, and UN representatives, before it can be trusted? Why or why not? So this is more of, I guess, your opinion question.
I guess in short, I really do think it should be verified by non-governmental actors before it can be approved. The implications of false data being used in future policies or frameworks building can lead to rather catastrophic results, which will bring to no fruitful aid in capacity building in the sense of data security and infrastructure management anyway, right? So essentially, it will just be taking a step backwards rather than forwards. Either way, the DPRK has agreed to commit into period reporting on human rights commitments under several conventions already, such as the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Civil Rights, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and so on, regardless, in which the DPRK has also accepted recommendations made by the Universal Periodic Review process, which is hosted under the UN country team anyway. Not only is the involvement of these external actors included within the past strategic framework as well, perhaps the guidance and the coordination brought forth by these groups will only encourage further transparency in the future, as it holds the DPRK much more accountable since it is accepting UN aid, especially as these actors do follow internationally approved technical standards as well. Perhaps the DPRK will also be encouraged to follow said standards.
Thank you very much. That's the last question I have for you. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview and for all the research you've done to prepare for it.